Mace Windu was one of the greatest minds on the Jedi Council, but often, even though he claimed to hate direct conflict with opponents, Windu found himself leading the charge in battle. Once, when a primitive group of aliens launched a terrifying campaign against the galaxy, Windu directed two of his Jedi subordinates to intervene. In his rush, Windu ignored standard procedure and didn't consult Grandmaster Yoda or the rest of the Jedi Council, and the end result of Windu's mission was the death of both the Jedi Knight and her apprentice on the mission. What went wrong? And how did Windu get over the fact that the blood of two Jedi was now on his hands? Join us as we answer these questions and more in today's Underrated Moment. The Amelians had little to fear from their small mining outpost in the Chillinor system, far into the expansion region of the galaxy. After the Republic created a small defensive outpost, the once imposing threat of pirates all but dissipated, and commerce continued to flow from the moon of Mayvich 7 to the core worlds that consume the valuable natural resources. But it wasn't long before that all changed. A few years before the Trade Federation Blockade of Naboo, a species known as the Yinchori had been included into the Senate. The powerful reptilian humanoids were naturally taller, broader, and physically more powerful than most species in the galaxy. They famously could defeat Wookiee warriors in combat, which they often did in the underground arenas that dotted the Outer Rim worlds of Hutt space. And once the Yinchori got their hands on the latest technology that the Republic had to offer, their entire society transformed from a simple planet species into a sprawling interstellar empire. And the foolish senators of the Republic, enamored with the thought of adding another world and all of its rich resources to their list of potential trading partners, didn't give the Yinchori a second thought. That was the biggest mistake of all. Soon, the Yinchori backwater philosophy of using their raw power to kill opponents and steal their property started to leave a few too many bodies in their wake. And the Senate, who were at first willing to turn a blind eye to the murderous appetite of the reptilian creatures, no longer could look away. So, when the Yinchori finally reached too far and attacked the Amalian base of Mayvich 7, the Jedi were forced to act. After all, it was their solemn duty to defend the Republic. But the first Jedi to receive the Mayday message from the small moon was Mace Windu, and Windu had a glaring weakness when it came to these types of situations. Knowing that he was perhaps the greatest lightsaber duelist in the galaxy, the Jedi Master was all too quick to throw Jedi in the midst of direct conflict, where they would have to pit their own might against that of their adversaries. In response to the Yinchori invasions of Mayvich 7, Windu dispatched two Jedi, a knight named Neshan and her Padawan known as Ebor Tulk. Had Windu hesitated and contacted the rest of the council for an emergency session, then he would have learned valuable information and reconsidered sending such a small force to intercept the Yinchori. He would have discovered that the reptilian soldiers were far from simple brutes, and instead some of the most naturally difficult combatants for a Jedi to defeat. First, just like the Hutts of Nalhutta, the Yinchori were resistant to mind control, meaning that a quick wave of a Jedi's hand wouldn't be enough to win the day. Second, the Yinchori regularly used cortosis shields in combat. That metal possessed the unique property of shorting out lightsabers whenever it came into contact with them. Since Neshan and Ebor Tulk didn't know that the Yinchori were uniquely outfitted with anti-Jedi weapons, they would have been at an even greater disadvantage. And the final bit of information that Windu should have known was that the Yinchori typically attack on sight, meaning that the two Jedi Knights that Windu dispatched had no hope of actually sitting down and trying to solve the conflict peacefully. They would need to rely solely on their fighting prowess, and even though the Jedi were all trained in the art of combat, sending two individuals against an entire invasion fleet was certain doom. When reports of Neshan and Ebor Tulk's death reached Windu, he reported both the initial invasion of the Yinchori and the death of the Jedi to the Council. But surprisingly, their deaths didn't seem to trouble the Master too greatly, much as he would in later conflicts like the battle on the Separatist-controlled world of Hesrek during the Clone Wars. Windu seemed to consider the lives of Jedi as disposable, as long as they served a greater purpose in the Force. While fellow Master Yaddle and Yoda offered very light admonitions to Windu for his failure to patiently consider his options, they didn't punish him, and in light of his own mistake, Mace Windu decided that he would personally make it his mission to stop the spread of the Yinchori. He wouldn't allow any more Jedi lives to die due to his errors as a leader, so he only accepted volunteers for the mission. But that too was a bit of a hollow gesture. Most of the Jedi, although they claimed to be above shame, would have felt the burden of agreeing to accompany Windu on his journey to the distant moon of Mayvich 7. Ultimately, Windu's mistake would cause many more to lose their lives, and in later years when the Clone Wars broke out, the dispute about the Yinchori problem laid the foundation for the schism that Weequay Master Sora Bulk tried to plan.